All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate you taking time to come to our webinar today. My name is Hilary Stupa. I'm a developer with Qdabra software. And today we've got a special guest. One of our Forms Viewer clients will be talking us through some of her migration process and some of her forms. I want to give you guys a couple polls real quick to start with. Let me just launch this one first. Just curious who all here is using SharePoint Online. Looking at the names, I think quite a few of you are, but I know some of you aren't quite yet or started and then moved back. Looks like everybody's voted. So 60% yes, 20% no, and 20% are no, but moving soon. So fantastic. And let me run my second little poll here. I'm just curious if you're planning a forms migration. If you're already on SharePoint Online, probably not, unless you're still using InfoPath Form Services, in which case probably so, right? You're going to need to do something about that. And maybe you've already got your stuff done, and maybe it's just still kind of an open thing for you. I'll give this another, just another second, and then we'll close this up. Thanks so much. So it looks like 40% of you have already done a migration from SharePoint on-prem to online with Forms Viewer, and some have stayed on SharePoint on-prem but still using Forms Viewer, and some folks haven't gotten there yet or have. Okay, so we've done our polls. Excellent. Back to the slides. So the first thing I want to do is just run through a couple of quick slides about the process, the migration process, why you would choose Qdabra Forms over other tools. Forms Viewer gives you that opportunity to just kind of lift and shift. You don't have to worry about making a ton of changes. Usually the changes you have to make are minimal. So you've already invested in your forms. Your users are used to them. Being able to just move them directly saves you time, saves you money. And you can also now add new modern features to your forms. So you get them moved, and now you can add stuff to them that you couldn't add before. We've got Q rules logic integrated into Forms Viewer, which really extends what you can do with your original forms. And you've got us. We'll help you. So, I mean, I realize I'm pretty biased, but yeah, I think that's a pretty good kind of selling point. And we do offer in Forms Viewer all the modern features, responsive design, you can call JSON web services, you can do some custom controls. So there's a lot more opportunity to grow what your forms are doing to provide your users more of the experience of the modern web than you were able to before. So that's kind of my little sales pitch for Forms Viewer. Without further ado, we're going to move into letting Kathy tell us more about her migration from SharePoint on-prem to using SharePoint Online and Forms Viewer. She went from using InfoPath Form Services on SharePoint on-prem with some SharePoint Designer workflows. And we've been working with Spindletop for a number of years and helped them get some things moved over. They've been a great client of ours, and I think their users have been very happy with the outcome of these migrations. So I'd like to introduce you to Kathy Hartlib. She's the Director of Information Services at Spindletop. The little tell us about your organization and what about your forms migration blurbs. Kathy, do you want to speak to any of this? Talk about
Yes.
your organization a little bit?
Sure. We are a nonprofit in Texas. We serve 5 counties and over 13,000 individuals.
Wow.
So this is the services we provide. And about the Forms Viewer migration, we've really enjoyed moving from InfoPath to Forms Viewer. It's been really a painless process. And like Hillary said, we have all invested in our forms, and it's nice to be able to move them over quickly and also have the support.
Yeah, and then that way
So
you haven't had to start over in Power Apps or something like that, right?
yeah, there just wasn't a clear path from InfoPath to Power Apps that I was expecting, but
Yeah.
Forms Viewer helped with that transition.
Oh,
So that was great.
fantastic.
And our
Fantastic.
users have been very happy with it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. That's so important because users and user adoption, those are the things that matter the most, aren't they?
Oh yes, that they come up with all kind of ideas. They'll see one form and many more come, especially with the signature aspects that you guys with the glass signature that you saw on the previous slides. They love
Mhm.
the wet signature for our medical forms. So
Wonderful. And we'll
that
take
is
a
one of
look
their
at
favorites.
some of those. We'll take a look at some of those for sure. Your current stats, this was just counting from last month. You've got about 10 templates that seem to be in use. There were some that were development forms. I didn't count those. But your usage is pretty high, right? You've got about 4,000 opens a month. So you're definitely getting a lot of use out of your form templates, and you've got about 1,970 users. So that's great. And then you also have external users, don't you? You don't just have
Yes.
internal people using your forms.
Yeah, we have less than 500 employees, so
Hmm.
the rest of the 1970 would be the external users, and we also we serve our clients, and we also serve people that are not yet our clients. So there we use the anonymous form as well.
Right. So you're also using the anonymous mode, which means you have even more users touching your forms. Well, let's talk about your telemedicine system. So that's one of your main systems that we migrated.
Yes, we have two copies of the telemedicine system. One is for the 40 hospitals that use the form, and it's for crisis services for our notifications for our psychiatrist. And we also use it for our mobile crisis team for the local hospitals, law enforcement um, entities, and even community calls from suicide hotlines. So we use the same technology. And
Mm-hmm.
how it works is we have a simple to use form for those hospitals and law enforcement agencies. Um, so they will submit just base information. We use a calendar, out of the box calendar.
Okay.
Um, right here. We have up to 4 different doctors on call at the same time. They have different shifts and overlapping and things like that. This one doesn't show as many doctors as we have online because we want to clean that up for us. But we have 4 doctors and we have an admin notification that's used with this simple SharePoint calendar that Qdabra helped us modify just slightly to allow for the notifications to have a certain order of Doctor 1, 2, 3, and 4. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really helpful. So the hospital or the crisis line will use this form and they'll just submit some base information and it will send a notification to the person on call at that time zone,
Mm-hmm.
in that time slot.
If I recall correctly, if that first person on call doesn't respond within a certain time period, then we notify the second person on call.
Yes, within an hour.
Mhm,
And then it would go, they can accept or decline
mhm.
using the text message with the anonymous, a little link that they can execute. They don't have to log in, so that makes it really nice
Right.
for the doctors. And
Right.
here's the
So
picture of the decline.
they get a text message letting them know that there's a new admission, and then they have two links, right? One link is the accept and one link is the decline, and it's an anonymous forms viewer link, which then opens this form, and all they do is just quickly verify that information and click submit to send their response.
Mhm.
Is that?
Yes, and it just gives them a little bit of information, the hospital name, where they need to log in, because they're all at home, all the providers on the doctor side, and they can call, video call into the hospital if they need to see a client at.
And when we were talking about this the other day, I think you mentioned that it saved you from having to have an answering service.
Yes, yes. The doctors were taking their own calls when we first started out. They would take all their own calls and accept and decline. And as the system has grown a little bit, we have had a few support staff that help move records around and do a little bit more because the doctors are, working hard at covering all of the 40 hospitals.
Oh,
So,
40
but it did save us.
hospitals.
Yes, yes,
That's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a
So
lot. And I'll mention to our attendees, one of the reasons we're doing screenshots here is because we are dealing with healthcare information. So we chose not to do a live demo simply because their live demo data has actual client information, right? So we wanted to make sure to just use screenshots for this section simply because of confidentiality concerns. And then now we're using Power Automate, right, to get rid of your old SharePoint designer workflows.
yes, and it's much easier to look through and check through as you all have probably used Power Automate. So we've really enjoyed that. Hillary can tell us a little bit more about
Yeah, we've got
Power.
some air handling in here. You'll see this screenshot just shows the main scope of the actions, and there's some air handling visible here. If there was a problem texting the selected doctor, we send an air text. Also, there's an overall air handling that we are doing as well in order to verify. I'm going to pop over to this in order to verify the flow itself. So if something goes wrong with the flow itself, then um, we'll send an air email on that so that Kathy can go check the flow, which is helpful. I took that screenshot, you guys, and I just thought to myself, I should really show you a little bit more of this flow simply because of the air handling, which we've talked about before in other webinars, but I think some of you might be new and to flow. And I just want to show you this. You can find this online and kind of if you search for like Power Automate air handling or Power Automate try catch. But you can see most of the actions here are in a single scope. It also has a condition here. And then there's this air scope. It runs if the main scope has failed or has timed out, and it just sends an air email and terminates. I'll go back to the slides now. I just wanted to show you that real quick. And Kathy, we were talking right before this meeting about some of the other factors about moving to Power Automate instead of SharePoint Designer workflows, right? You used to have the occasional um, challenges from
Yes.
on-prem
So,
SharePoint updates. Sorry,
so,
it's
so,
not funny.
so, yeah. Well, sometimes the updates that are provided they sometimes stop our websites from working as like a little surprise on a Monday morning. So it kind of spurred us into action to let's go ahead and move on away from on-prem to online. Even though Microsoft does make little changes, they don't really notify us on their little changes, but it's not the surprise on-prem um, change that your website's not working.
Right,
That
because
one's
some of those SharePoint on-prem updates are pretty big. I've had to be responsible for a SharePoint server a time or two, and it's always very fraught. Will everything work after I get done installing this?
making backups, rolling back, and it
Oh.
was just something that we're not looking forward to. So we've moved over all of our big applications. We only have one left. That's the next one that we're going to do. But yes, we're going to move that over quickly.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet. Well, one of the big applications you moved, since you mentioned this, was your incident report application. Do you
yes.
want to speak to this incident reporting application that you guys use?
Yes, yes. We have several forms that are embedded in this one incident application. Everything from clients' rights, customer service, COVID reports, vehicle accident, many medical forms, and theft and loss and compliance. We have them all rolled up into one here. And what's nice about this is it's streamlining our approval process. So that's really helped, and that we don't have all those forms to deal with. They're all in one little container here. So we
Mm-hmm.
really like that, and Qdabra has just really been very helpful with the service, and Hillary specifically helping us build that form. So that
Well,
is something I can't
this is
say
when you
enough about
guys
the
use.
service.
Oh, thank you. This is when you use DBXL with, right? So you also
Yes.
submit the data from this form to SQL, and that way you can use other tools for reporting.
Yes, we also have some different search engines and different things that we use for some on the SQL side, and we have a business intelligence person that's also building some BI interfaces for the information that came from here. So that information being housed in SQL has been helpful.
Wonderful. And I think we used DBXL email mappings to send notifications on this. And I think
Yes.
also we used DBXL to generate, no, we didn't. We used, that's right. Sorry, you guys, I forgot this. We used logic in the form to generate PDFs that get sent to various document libraries
Yes,
when
for
an
storage.
incident is reviewed by the correct group, right?
Mhm. Yes, it's been very helpful, and it's very nice to be able to notify everyone and keep up with the changes in management and who's going to oversee compliance and who's going to oversee vehicle incidents and different things. And we use SharePoint lists for that. So
Oh,
it's kind of nice. And Hillary's helped with that as well because we have
yeah.
many different notifications going on.
Yeah, and so having that all that data separated out from the form means that if something changes in your organization, the form doesn't have to change.
Mhm. In the beginning, we had human resources keep up with the SharePoint list because they know who was coming and going, and
Hmm.
what what person in compliance is going to approve this, or who's going to handle the theft or loss. And that was really nice to have someone handling that externally.
Hmm.
That was a very nice feature.
I bet. Yeah, because you can't have HR making your form changes. It takes that off your plate. That's
Mhm.
nice. Yeah, this
Yes.
last form I'd like to actually go ahead and show. I've got a blank up here. Um,
Mhm.
and this is the one you were talking, one of the forms you use signatures on. I know you use signatures on more than this form, but this is one of the forms that you get that you have external users access for signing using the anonymous mode, right? Because it's a medical records release.
Yes, yes. This is on our public website, and we've used this a lot. We've also even placed little workstations up at all of our different locations and iPads up at our different locations for people that may be that don't have a computer or a phone, and they can fill this out from wherever. So we find that very helpful. Then we have a team of people that look up their medical records and email it to them, or move that to the place where they're going to be receiving services, or print that out if they're here.
Wow,
So it's a really nice form.
that's great. And we're using the glass signature here so that people can just go ahead and sign it. And then you've got that signature on file too. And you don't necessarily have to print this and file it anywhere because you've got it in your SharePoint library.
Yes, and we've added some helper fields here. So as the medical records teams processes these, they'll have different options to see that one's pending, one's completed, one's a duplicate. So that's real helpful. So it's a totally paperless process unless the client wants paper printed out, but that's a
Mhm.
different thing.
That's a different
But
story,
yes.
isn't it? I bet that streamlines things for your medical records office. I bet that's
It
a
sure
real
does.
relief.
I have a team of 6 people that release records, and in the past it was all paper, walk to the front desk, and now we capture the driver's license here at the bottom. You'll see that, or the ID,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's nice. They capture it on the iPads. There's a photo. They take a picture of the ID from their computer. They can upload it.
Brilliant.
It really works nicely. And we've used it also for flu forms, different medical forms,
Yeah, the
and
different
more to
medical
come.
forms that need signatures and then being able to use it anonymously means anybody can use it.
Yes. Yeah, it's very helpful. The anonymous use is one of my favorite things, along with the signature, because it's such a hassle to log in multiple times when you just want to capture a little bit of information to just start the process.
Yeah,
Sometimes you don't want it to be
absolutely.
hassle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted to mention just because we just recently worked on making an upgrade to this form. Um, and we just recently worked on making an upgrade to this form for making it Surface compatible. So if anyone on this call or watching this is using an older version of our glass signature form sample and you need it Surface compatible, let us know. We've had to make that change for a couple of clients. There's a slightly newer version of the scripts we're using that appear to work better with Surface. And so we do have a question, and I'd answered an earlier question. Does it copy over if it sees that there is a signature from that same person? And I'm thinking that what the question is asking is if I submit a second one of these medical record releases, will it overwrite the first one, but I would guess the answer there is no. I would
No.
guess you're always submitting a fresh new form, and the latest version would be your form of record, right? If I filled one out on Tuesday and I came in and I filled out a new medical records release on Saturday, my latest form would be the one that would be considered the true standard, right?
Yes, we use the time date stamp as a part of the naming convention when the form is saved.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah,
there's
and
no
that makes
overwriting.
sense because I know if I go to my doctor's office and I fill out a release a year later, they're going to make me fill out another release, and I know which
Mhm.
one they consider to be the active one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's used mainly for if people want their new medications list or if they are moving and they want to send their records to their new doctor. So
Hmm.
this is what this one. There's multiple other consents in our electronic medical record in-house that we have here that's not available on our public website yet.
Right, right. And you do have a certain number of clients that have legal guardians or someone else managing their matters, right? And so it is important to have that ability to have legal guardians sign, which I noted in the form itself. So yeah,
Yes.
that's
We
great.
even have jails that will request records. The nurses from those jails will request a client's records to get their medications if they're incarcerated.
Right, and they
So we
need
want
to be able to get that. Absolutely, that's an important service
Mhm.
for sure.
So this is our most popular form, and it doesn't look like much, but I'll tell you, it sure does make the staff happy.
Well, and isn't that what matters? I mean, yeah, happy happy staff is a great end result, and we love to hear that. And I'm glad it's been of assistance, and I'm glad it's helped make processes easier for you. I kind of recapped that I think some of the main things that have been great for you has been, this anonymous form access and having the signature pane, right, which we just talked about with this glass form, saving you on a number of pain points. The switch to Power Automate. I mean, some of that's selfish, right, Kathy? Because I never liked helping with SharePoint Designer workflows. I'll be, I'll be honest that the switch to Power Automate has made me very happy. And the other pain point that I remember us having over the years was sometimes not being able to publish your forms. Like you needed to make a simple form change, and for some reason, InfoPath wouldn't let us publish to your SharePoint 2013 library, or something on your machine would block you and you'd get an error message. So no more publishing has been nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to upload these files, and I like to upload many copies just so if I do a certain change to the form, I have the good one, it's out there, that I can work on the tweaks like adding, messages if people have forgotten to fill out all the things that are required. I like to have lots of little red messages that you've talked to me about, so you could have that, you can be developing on it, and it's real easy to cut over and cut back if you need to. So that's been really nice.
That's a really smart point, and I'm glad you mentioned it because one of the great things about Forms Viewer is it's very easy to just upload another copy of your template as a dev template or a test template. And I noted on your, when I looked to manage templates to open up that glass form, I noted you'd also saved a backup of your prior good template right there in Forms Viewer. So if you had to roll back quickly, you had it. I thought that was very smart.
Yeah, it's nice to also work remotely when we have some people that are in hybrid work. They don't always have every access to their computer at work. They want to work at home or whatever. It's nice to have them all your eggs in one basket there, all the
Good
templates there.
point. Good,
Yeah.
good point. Good point. Yeah, that way you've got the template when you need it, and it's not on your other machine. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to mention? Any other points that we've kind of missed or that you'd like to speak to?
Well, one thing I just really like is the customer service aspect of Qdabra. You guys are always there when we need something. You're quick, professional, and always have the right answers for us. So it's really been nice to have you guys as a part of our team.
Oh, well,
So
thank you.
yeah, it
That's
really helps when you have a small team to have you guys in our corner
Oh,
to
that's
help us
great.
get
Well,
through the
as another
process.
small team, we do our best. It's not always, boy, I sometimes wish we had five more people, but yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, we've got another just another slide or two. There's some links here for some information on our products. There's an overview video here. If anyone needs this, a little talk about pricing, and we do have variable support plans depending on your needs. So if anybody here is not yet using Forms Viewer and interested, or if anybody watching is not yet using Forms Viewer and interested, I encourage you to reach out. We are happy to help you. And Kathy, I just want to thank you so much for taking time to attend and share your experience. And I want to thank all of our attendees for coming as well. I think we answered the open questions. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to chat them. Everybody should have our email addresses. We've got support@qdabra.com. You can always reach out to us there. You can find me at hillary.stupa@qdabra.com. Looking at the attendee list, I think most of you already have me in your address book. And I'm so happy to have had this opportunity to talk with all of you. Kathy, again, thank you so much for your kind words and for sharing with us. And I just hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your week and is enjoying the fall season. Unless you're in Australia, I hope you're enjoying whatever season it is there. Spring, right? It's opposite. So take good care, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.